Well, hello, friends. Today we're sitting down with James Pennebaker. James Pennebaker is a friend and one of the respected kind of lifer musicians here in Nashville that has spent probably almost 50 years on and off playing with Delbert McClinton.
At different times.
At different times.
40 something.
Toured with John Fogerty, spent many years with Roy Parnell, worked for guitar manufacturers, worked for Fender in artist relations, worked for Jackson Charvel, back in the 80s and early 90s, toured with Pam Tillis, done a lot of demo work, done session work, and then, of course, more recently he started working with AJ Croce.
Yeah.
And someone that has lived a full life of music and has done a variety of things through the years, just always to, because that's what you got to do. Yeah.
Got to pay the mortgage.
Yeah, you got to pay the bills.
Had to pivot a couple times.
Yeah, pivoting. That's the sign of someone that knows what they're doing.
Got a family. Got kids to feed.
Yeah. So you get into music through the violin, and you're playing. You grow up in the Fort Worth area. Mm-hmm. And you're, playing in orchestras and things like that, and then you kind of get interested in the guitar because of the Beatles. And tell me about, because, as a fellow Texan, tell me about that scene. Tell me about, the Dallas-Fort Worth area and the players there, and just the kind of the surroundings you were around, and the things that kind of helped you get into the guitar and then get eat up with it.
Well, when I started playing in the clubs, so to speak, I was trained as a classical violin player, and started in the school systems, second grade, I think, maybe more was it third grade. My father had played the violin as a young person. My mother and my sisters played piano. There was music in the house, and I found a little 3/4 violin that had been my dad's in the closet. What's this, Mom? Oh, your dad played. And so I wanted to play, and took private lessons. So I was on the classical path.
Yeah. But
February 9th of 1964 came. And even before that, my sisters, I have two quite a bit older sisters, and they had the Freewheelin' Bob Dylan records, and they had Peter, Paul, and Mary records, and, the great folk scare of the early 60s. Yeah. So I was hearing all that, and there was a little Stella or something around the house that I would pick up, and I could pick a melody out, and my mother would go, "Oh, look, you just did that himself." So I took violin lessons for a long time, and I was concert master of my high school orchestra. There was an all-city orchestra. There was a youth symphony. I was in all these different orchestras, but the Beatles show up. And as we did every Sunday, my two sisters and I were in the den or living room with my parents, and we watched the Ed Sullivan Show every Sunday. Mm-hmm. And once Ed Sullivan was over, we could split because Lawrence Welk came on, and we weren't big fans of Lawrence Welk. So it was quite an experience, and I watched them, and I knew it was like a religious experience. That's it. That's what I want to do with my life. Yeah. And my father, when they were being, congratulated by Ed Sullivan after these nice boys. My father stood up out of his reclining chair and pointed at the TV and said, "That is a communist plot to overthrow our government." Now, my father was a great man. He was a Navy hero. His destroyer was sunk in the Battle of Okinawa, and he almost died. He was wounded. He got a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star for heroism. So he was a great man, great patriot, great American. But he didn't like the Beatles.
Well, and also there was just this, anything that was out of the ordinary, anything that was any type of challenge to the status quo and what,
right,
how you were supposed to look and how you're supposed to act.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this was the beginning of what we called the generation gap.
Yeah.
Which really, in my house, was the generation chasm. And when he pointed at the TV, I kind of knew, there's trouble in River City, or there's going to be.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to cut my hair anymore, and I wasn't old enough to be able to buy my own records yet, but as soon as I was buying Hendrix and Led Zeppelin and,
Yeah.
like everybody else my age. And I got an electric guitar. I don't remember whether it was Christmas or my birthday or just I made enough noise they finally got one. There was a gentleman down the street from us. His name was Dale Woodward. And he had played with Bob Wills, and there was a casino out on Lake Worth back in the 40s, maybe 50s, that my mother would talk about going to dance out there and see Glenn Miller and all the big bands, and Dale had done a lot of work with the big bands. He was that kind of player. And I signed up to take lessons with him. He was a neighbor. And it was a class. Maybe there were 6 of us. And I had this little guitar, Japanese, probably a Kent or something. But there was no name on the headstock. And Mr. Woodward had one of those label makers, where you turn the dial.
Dymo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it said Woodward, and it was stuck on the headstock. And I have pictures of it. And an Alamo amp, and they all came from a company called C. Bruno and Sons out of San Antonio.
Yeah.
So I had my little Woodward guitar and Alamo amp, and in these classes, I didn't last very long, maybe 3 weeks or something, because we all wanted to learn, I Want to Hold Your Hand and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No, we won't learn that here. We'll be playing Michael Row Your Boat Ashore or whatever.
Yeah. And you already had proficiency on the violin, and so you could hear stuff.
Yeah,
and
I could already read music.
Yes, and you could pick out things, and so that was really rudimentary.
So I basically went my own way on the guitar, kind of taught myself, but not for very long. I lost interest in it somewhere. I wanted to play the drums.
Okay.
And so I got a drum set probably when I was 12 or 13. And so the guitar, I lost interest in the guitar. My focus was on the violin. I graduated high school, went to North Texas State University for a year.
And that's a really well-known music
school, correct. And now it's called the University of North Texas. But yes, very esteemed music department.
Yeah, especially the jazz, the 1 o'clock, jazz combo.
And my folks, they were never real thrilled with me being a musician for a profession, even in the classical world.
But especially not the
correct
hillbilly or blues,
not rock and roll or any of that. And I had discovered there was a record store in Fort Worth. I grew up on the east side of Fort Worth. And when I was about 12, we moved to the south side. And there was a record store in Fort Worth called Record Town, which was run by the Bruton family.
Yes. Yeah.
Sumter Sr., Sumter the Third was the father. Sumter the Second was the father. Sumter Third was the oldest son. Stephen Turner, Stephen Bruton, was Sumter's younger brother, and Kathleen, their mother. And I'd take my lawnmower money every week and ride my bicycle up to Record Town and buy the latest thing.
Yeah.
And I started getting, well, let me back up. There was a rock band out of Fort Worth that was pretty popular for 10 minutes. Forgive me, guys, you guys that are still back in Fort Worth that played in that band. They were called Blood Rock. And I saw them opening for Grand Funk Railroad. Probably 12. My mother dropped me off. And anyway, I became a huge fan of theirs. And they split up, and the lead guitar player, his name is Lee Pickens.
Okay.
He did a solo record on Capitol. And he was playing a concert at the Worth Theater in downtown Fort Worth. So my mother and I went with a neighbor kid across the street. She took us down there, dropped us off. And I was there to see the Lee Pickens group. I had no idea what an opening act was.
Yeah.
Well, we're sitting there and the concert's starting and there was an opening act. And that opening act was Freddie King.
Oh my goodness.
I'm 12 years old sitting in a movie theater. Freddie comes out. I'd never seen anything like it in my life.
Yeah. Because he was
like
a presence.
King Kong
Yeah.
took the stage with I guess it was an ES-345.
Which looks like a ukulele
Yes,
on him.
looked like a mandolin on him.
Yeah.
And it looked like he was just going to rip it apart at any minute. Then he opened his mouth and sang.
Yeah.
And that was another religious experience for me. And so the next lawnmower money I spent at Record Town was on Freddie King records. I forgot about Blood Rock and Grand Funk Railroad and all that stuff. And Sumter, Stephen's brother Sumter, basically took me under his wings. Oh, well, you like Freddie King? Well, you need this and you need this. And
Right.
so I dove into the blues guys. Freddie, BB, Albert. Albert Collin was my go-to guy, my favorite, still is. So I was getting into all that, and at the same time, Sumter knew I played the violin. Oh, you ever heard of Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys? Well, no.
Yeah.
Well, you need this, and you need this, and this, and this. So I started fooling around with that stuff on my violin fiddle. And I'd be noodling around in orchestra class
Yeah.
before we tune up, and
Yeah.
and my stand partner would go, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
And how can you do that? Because it's not on a music stand
Yeah.
in front of you."
Yeah.
Well, I'm just doing it because I heard it, and I can.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, and I had a wonderful private teacher, Alice McDaniel. She was second chair, second chair violinist with the Fort Worth Symphony, and she caught me noodling around with some of that. What is that?
Yeah.
How are you doing that? Well, this is what it is. And next lesson, she had gone to Record Town and bought Bob Wills records. She was cool.
Yeah.
So,
She was curious.
Yeah, so fast forward a little bit, and now I'm driving. I was playing in the clubs by the time I was 17, trying to play Western swing, and I met a couple of people that were really keys to my starting to play semi-professional, or professional, I guess. We got paid.
Yeah.
And one of those people was Gary Nicholson,
Yeah.
who to this day is one of my dearest friends
And
in the Nashville Songwriters Hall of Fame.
yeah.
So I found myself in a band with Gary and another Fort Worth guy named Tommy Spurlock, who was a pedal steel player.
Yeah.
I had
Played with
never
Rodney
seen
Crowell
the
and others,
instrument
yeah.
before, and Tommy lived here in Nashville for many years, worked with Rodney and Highway 101 and several other people. And of course we had a bass player and a drummer, and I was playing in the clubs.
Yeah.
My parents weren't aware of it.
Yeah.
Maybe they were. But, and Tommy Spurlock, I have to say this about Tommy, he gave me the best advice early on, because I didn't know anything. And I would just be playing all on top of everything.
Mm-hmm.
And on one of the breaks, everybody goes out to the parking lot in those days. There's no green room or dressing room in these little dumps. And that's where the fun was out in the parking lot.
Exactly.
And he took me aside and he said, "Hey, man, you're really good. You're going to be really good, but you don't have to play all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Listen to what I'm doing, and when I'm playing, don't play. Just stand there and hold your fiddle."
Yeah.
And that was good advice.
And when the singer's singing,
yeah,
you absolutely don't.
Right.
Yeah.
So, but that's kind of how that started. And then I should back up too. I had a little band in high school with some buddies.
Yeah.
3 of my close friends, and this is about 1972, 3, the great progressive country scare in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And because Willie had left Nashville, moved to Austin, so there was Asleep at the Wheel, Willie Whalen, all these bands out of Austin, and Willis Allen Ramsey I was a big fan of his and his songwriting. So we put together a little group in high school and played the talent show, and I don't remember if we won or not, but doing that kind of stuff, the progressive country stuff. And we started getting some gigs at a little place on Berry Street called The Hop, which was kind of the popular hangout. It was a bar, but it was also a pizza restaurant. So started playing there and started getting some recognition. Did a little radio show for one of the FM stations, local FM stations, and played this club called the 13 National Bank quite regularly. Really seedy places that teenagers had no business being in. I was underage. And this is when the drinking age was 18 in Texas.
Yeah.
And so there was another musician around. His name was Arvil Strickland, and he had a group that played, much older guys, that played that 13th National Bank. And he came to me one day and said, "Hey, how would you feel about coming up here and playing fiddle with us when we play here next time?" I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So I did that, and I had so much fun because I was the front man of this little group called Honey Creek that we had in high school. So here I was being a sideman. Didn't have to sing the songs, didn't have to
talk in between,
Yep, didn't have to talk to the club owners.
Yeah.
Didn't have to book any gigs. So I
collect the
started
money.
playing with Arvil and his band, and that was the end of my band. Because it was much easier just to be a sideman.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that. And then I got in the band with Gary and Tommy. Back in those days, there were house bands.
Yeah.
I mean, you could play 5 nights a week in a club. I found I met Debbie and
Your wife.
my wife Debbie,
Yeah.
and we got married. We had a son, and I needed to make some kind of a real living.
Mm-hmm.
So I got a gig at this place called Deb's Dance Land on the county line between Grand Prairie and between Tarrant County and Dallas County, I guess, because everything around it was dry.
Mm-hmm.
And this is when the legal drinking age was 18. Well, the county line was wet. And so there was this county line of clubs.
Right.
And they all had bands that went 5, 6, 7 nights a week. And so I got a job at Deb's. And this was a little bit before Debbie and I married, because I asked for a Saturday night off for our wedding day. They weren't going to let me off. Nope, you can take any night off but Saturday.
Yeah.
Well, I've got to do it. He says, well, if you're not here Saturday, your shit'll be on the dance floor when you come back on Monday. And so I kind of said, well, tough, and I didn't show up.
Yeah.
And Monday, my stuff was on the dance floor. So now I'm out of a job, and a steel player named Gary Hogue, wonderful steel player, played with Marty Stewart for some years before he passed. He had played at Deb's and left to go work at the Longhorn Ballroom, Dewey Groom's Longhorn Ballroom in Dallas. So I called Gary. I said, hey man, you think they might need a fiddle player? And he goes, well, I don't know, call Dewey. So I called Dewey Groom. Now the Longhorn was world famous, and still kind of is, for the people that know the history. It was built as Bob Wills' ranch house in the 40s for Bob Wills.
Yeah.
And Jack Ruby owned it for a while, and Dewey Groom purchased it from Jack Ruby. And they brought in everybody, all the national country acts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a job there 5 nights a week. I saw, on the weekends, they would bring in everybody from George and Tammy to Conway, Roddy Millsap. I can go on and on and on. Mel Tillis. I saw everyone and met a lot of them, met a lot of the musicians in their bands. And it was a real education.
Did you meet Roy Nichols?
I did meet Roy Nichols and Norm Hamlet and Merle. And I went to work there. Deb and I got married in September of 76, so this would have been probably early October of 76. I really learned to play at the Longhorn Ballroom. There were 2 steel players when I went to work there, Gary Hogue, who I mentioned, and Junior Knight.
Yeah.
Junior passed away just days ago. And that was my introduction into the steel guitar a little bit. I was fascinated. And these guys, Gary played a double neck, E9 C6. Junior played what's called a B-flat universal tuning. It's a 12-string, and you can get both necks out of one.
Yeah.
And they had all the instrumental stuff worked out, twin parts to everything. Bebop and hop, boot heel drag, I mean, you name it. And Junior was a fabulous guitar player too. So I just watched them every night like a hawk.
Yeah, it's interesting because you kind of have this classical background and you continue with that, and then you also had this Western swing and a country thing and the blues thing, all kind of congealing together, all these influences.
Well, the classical thing went by the wayside real quick.
Yeah.
In Texas, in those days, you had to play everything. You had to play all styles of music. You had to play the requests, and you had to keep dancers on the dance floor. It was all about dancing.
Yeah.
Everyone danced. Not everyone, but people came to those clubs to drink and dance and have a good time. And if you couldn't keep them on the dance floor, you didn't get called back.
Yeah. I'm real curious about because of course a lot of people are going to be familiar with like the Vaughan brothers, which you knew, but like before that, you have the beginnings of these players that are being influenced by these same guys, by Freddie King and the other guys that are in the area, and you end up with guys like Bill Campbell and all these other cats that become kind of like your first generation of, I guess what you'd call, white blues players and stuff like that. How did this kind of come about, and how do we get to like, then Anson Funderburg and the Vaughan brothers and all these guys?
Well, I need to mention the Bluebird nightclub in Fort Worth, the new Bluebird nightclub, as it was called, and Robert Ely and his 5 Careless Lovers, which Sumter Bruton was a member of.
Okay.
What a great name for a band. The 5 Careless Lovers. Anyway, they played at a place called the Bluebird, which was in the Como section of Fort Worth, which was all black. And the poor little rich kids that went to TCU and they would go out there to kind of slum it.
Mm-hmm.
And the Five Careless Lovers were all white kids. But Robert Ely, who owned and managed the place, was black. He was a drummer originally, but now he's a singer out front. And he played a fake harmonica where he'd just go, like
so
that.
So he'd make the sound.
He'd make the sound. Yes, and he didn't know a lot of words either.
Yeah.
He might know the first verse, but after that, he would just make stuff up.
Yeah.
He was the real deal, and the Bluebird was the real deal. And so my brother-in-law, Debbie's brother, my wife's brother, played drums with a band called the Juke Jumpers, which the Five Careless Lovers had disbanded. Mike Buck was the drummer for the Five Careless Lovers. Lou Ann Barton was always at the Bluebird. So a lot of those guys left Fort Worth for Austin.
Yeah.
And then the Juke Jumpers they became the house band at the Bluebird. And I would go out there and sit in. My brother-in-law's the drummer, so I was well known there. And I was in several. So I'm playing country music at the Longhorn Ballroom 5 nights a week. But on those 2 nights a week I wasn't at the Longhorn, I'm at the Bluebird or some other joint in Fort Worth playing with somebody.
Yeah.
And it's not country music, it's blues.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of living a double life.
Yeah.
So I'm playing blues on guitar pretty much. I played some guitar. Gary Hogue, when he left the Longhorn band, that put Junior pretty much on steel all the time. So I kind of took up the guitar chair to some degree. So I was learning country music too on the guitar, totally teaching myself guitar. But the Bluebird was the hub of the blues. And then there were other clubs would spring up. When Stevie hit big in, what was that, 83 probably, then clubs started opening everywhere, blues clubs.
Yeah.
So but there's all this different kind of music going on because that's kind of the Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, Bob Wills was basically a big band with fiddles instead of horns, and they played a lot of blues.
Yeah. Tell me about Bill Campbell, because I've heard about him, and I've just heard the name dropped, and of course I've seen like some clips of him playing, but I want to know the significance of Bill Campbell.
Well, I can't honestly tell you about Bill Campbell in his early days or whatever, because I didn't know him then.
Yeah.
I knew of him. And I got to know Bill when he played in Delbert's band.
Okay.
A couple of different times. Probably that would have been, I didn't know Bill probably until the 90s, somewhere in the 90s.
Okay.
Right. So, but he was legendary.
Yeah.
But I did get to know Bill pretty well.
Yeah.
When he was with Delbert, mostly from the cruises, Delbert's Sandy Beaches cruise.
Yeah.
That started in 95, I think, and it's still going. And Bill was one of the greatest blues guitar players that I've ever known. Bill did not suffer fools at all. Bill was quite a character. I never knew Bill when he drank, and I'm probably glad I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But, I just saw Bill kind of on the road, passing on the road, on those cruises every year for a week. But I never lived in Austin.
Yeah.
And I never ran around with him or anything, but he had my respect.
Yeah. Did you know the Vaughn brothers? Did you know Jimmy back in Fort Worth?
No. I did not know Jimmy in Fort Worth, and I did not know Stevie when I lived in Fort Worth. I'm going to back up even more a little bit. I'm going to back up to when I was 19 years old.
Okay.
Just the fiddle player. Back in the progressive country scare of Texas, I was in a band that was playing. We were playing Merle Haggard stuff. We were hippies with long hair playing country music.
Yeah.
Or trying to. The name of the band originally was Robert Allen and the Chicken Lips. And Robert left, and we became, we had a different name. Well, Delbert enters the picture.
Okay.
Delbert made 2 records under with Glenn Clark called Delbert and Glenn.
Right.
And if you don't know of these records and don't have them, you need them. And you need them. The first Delbert and Glenn album changed my life. It came out in 71 or 2, and I got it through Record Town. Sumter, you need to hear this. These guys are from Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So that was my introduction to Delbert and Glenn. When the 13th National Bank that I mentioned, I'm playing these joints around Fort Worth, and they have lost their record deal. They've moved back to Fort Worth from L.A. They would play this place called the Beef and Boogie, and they would play the Hop. And I would go see them, and they were just my favorite thing. And this band, I mentioned Arvil Strickland. I was playing with him, and Delbert came out at some point and sat in, sang. And he, I guess, liked what he saw, or he thought I was a pretty good fiddle player, and I was young.
Yeah.
And he saw me then with this band that had been the Robert Out and the Chicken Lips. And he'd come out and sit in with us a lot because he loved country music too. Mm-hmm. Delbert loves all that country music stuff. And he and his wife at the time left Fort Worth for a while. He got a record deal, a solo deal. They came to Nashville and lived in a trailer house while he made his record. Chip Young produced it, and they cut it in Murfreesboro at Chip's studio. I can't think of the name of it now. Young Gun Sound, I think. And the record's done, finished. They moved back to Fort Worth, and he asked Debbie and I and Michael J. Mahoney, who was the drummer in this band, and his wife asked us all to have dinner together at Michael J.'s house. So there we are, the 3 couples, and he's got a cassette of his new record. Mm-hmm. And he puts it in, and we listen to it. And it's Reggie Young. I didn't know it at the time. It's Reggie Young. It's Bobby Emmons. It's the Memphis Boys, all of them.
Yeah.
And we'd been playing all these songs with Delbert. And so now we're hearing the studio record.
Right.
And honestly, I was kind of like, what have these guys done to these songs, you know? I didn't appreciate it at the time. But Delbert needed a band to go out and tour to promote this record. And he asked us if we would be the band. And of course we said yes, absolutely. So I'm 19 years old. I've never been out of Fort Worth before except on a family vacation. And we had Delbert's 67 pickup truck that we put the gear in and put a mattress on top of all the gear. And that's where you slept. And then we had a rented Ford Econoline van. And we were going on tour.
Wow.
And that's when I left college to go on tour with Delbert. And we were playing the same little shitholes all over the country like we were playing in Fort Worth. Mm-hmm. But that's my first run with Delbert. I was 19. And he was trying to cash in on the progressive country thing that Willie and Waylon had all started.
So... And Delbert kind of is able to find some commercial success with like "Giving It Up for Your Love." That's kind of, and
that's much later, but
So is that early '80s?
That was 80.
80. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So and I was back in the band by that time as a guitar player.
Okay. Because you were playing fiddle.
A lot of time had passed, kind of, from '76. I went back to work with Delbert after that little stint in '76 as a violin player.
Yeah.
I went back with him in 1979 as a guitar player.
Yeah.
He had seen me around town at the Bluebird and wherever playing guitar or attempting to play blues guitar. And he called me. I was working at the Longhorn Ballroom. I had a steady job. I'd been there for 3 years, playing 5 nights a week. He called me. This is what a fan I was of his.
Yeah.
And said, I want two guitar players in my band. He had a wonderful guitar player named Billy Sanders,
Yeah.
who was kind of my Bill Campbell kind of guy to me. And Billy had been with Delbert from the 50s, 60s, with the straitjackets and the rondelles. They were like this. I want to add another guitar player to the band. I think he was looking for someone that could play a little more modern kind of stuff, maybe. How do you feel about coming out with us for the weekend to see how it goes? And I said, sure, I'd love to.
Yeah.
I quit my job at the Longhorn to go out for one weekend to see how it goes. Luckily, it went okay.
Yeah.
Because he asked me back for the next weekend.
Yeah.
And that began about 7.5 years with Delbert playing guitar.
Yeah.
Giving It Up came out in 1980.
And that got, I mean, because there's footage of y'all doing like Solid Gold and like Saturday Night Live.
We did Saturday
in
Night
1980.
Live.
Yeah, I mean,
right. And Delbert had done Saturday Night Live the year before, I think. Well, I know he'd done it previously. This was the second time when Giving It Up was a hit. Belushi and Aykroyd were huge fans.
Yeah, because they did B-movie Boxcar Blues.
And they were seeing him. This is before I had rejoined the band, at the Lone Star Cafe in New York, which was the place. Mort Cooperman. It was a little piece of Texas and just dropped into New York City.
Yeah.
And it was a huge scene. And so I'm back in the band in 79, and we're playing the Lone Star. And every time we were there, Belushi and Aykroyd were there. Doc Pomus was always there at his table. It was incredible. And it was quite a time. It was an era, you know. And yeah, so we did Saturday Night Live and Solid Gold and Casey Kasem's Top 40 and all those shows.
Yeah.
I was, 22, something like that. We thought we were changing the world. We weren't.
Yeah.
So Giving It Up was a big deal. It was a big hit. And there was that was on an album called The Jealous Kind. And then the follow-up album, it was Cutting Muscle Shoals with the Swampers.
Yep.
And Billy Sanders played on it, and Robert Harwell, who was the saxophone player, played on it. But everybody else was the Swampers. The next album, which was called Playing from the Heart, the touring band played on a few songs. So I got to go to Muscle Shoals and cut with the Swampers. They weren't in the Jackson Highway studio. They had moved.
They had moved
into the old National Guard Army. But I got to spend, I guess, almost 4 or 5 days, maybe, I don't remember, around David Hood and Roger Hawkins and Jimmy Johnson and Barry. And again, I was so young, I could not appreciate it. You know, it was years later that I really realized, oh my God, I had no idea that all that Aretha stuff and Staple Singers stuff, but there I was. I wish I'd known at the time. Yeah. We couldn't believe Muscle Shoals in those days because it was dry.
Right.
You had to drive to Tennessee to get a beer,
mm-hmm.
and that's the first thing we asked about when we got there. Where's the liquor store? And so it was just quiet little place, and the Swampers, all those guys, when 5 o'clock comes, they're going home to have dinner with their families.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, what are we doing here? Well, there's nothing to do there but what you're there for, record.
Can't go party. There's not that other stuff going on, so you're just there to make music.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you're not making music, it's pretty boring.
Yeah.
Or it was.
Yeah. So let's go to bed and let's start up
go back to the hotel and watch Johnny
10.
Carson.
Yeah. So the Delbert, of course, has that success in '80 and such, and then he kind of tapers off, and you end up, leaving him. How did that happen?
Well, that second album, second Muscle Shoals record, did not do anything.
Yeah.
And so, and I watched us go from that first pickup truck and an Econoline to a 53 Flex bus into nice tour buses, leased, of course, back into the Econoline vans again. We became pregnant again, and I was looking at about 9 years had gone by now since my first son Jeremy was born, and I was pretty much gone. We'd go out on the road in those days for 6 weeks or more, come home for just long enough to do laundry and leave again. It was brutal. I can't imagine doing it now. I don't know how people do it.
Yeah,
But-
well, and especially Deb's, raising the kids by herself.
That's right, certainly. So my second son's on the way, Alex, and I remember one day we were in New Mexico somewhere, and we're in this, one van's got the gear and the other van's got everybody. And I just kind of looked around and went, I've got another child on the way. I've missed my first one growing up, and I had a stepdaughter too. So I just kind of looked around and suddenly thought, what am I doing? And I'm younger than everybody. In those days, I was 15.
Yeah, you were the kid.
And I kind of looked around and thought, what am I doing riding around in a van with a bunch of old men that act like children when I've got a family to support? I mean, it just hit me.
Yeah.
Maybe I should grow up a little bit. So I had a dear friend, still have a dear friend named Donnie Wade. And Donnie Wade started working on my instruments when I was in high school. And I knew that he was working for a company called, remember Hondo Guitars?
Yeah.
He was working for a company called International Music Company, and they imported those Hondo guitars. And Donnie ran the guitar department, making those guitars playable before they shipped them and fixing them. And I called Donnie to see if there might be an opening for me. And Donnie had been kind enough over the years maybe Donnie was too busy to fix my guitar or something. He'd show me how to do it myself. And, being a young hippie kid with no money, and I didn't want to ask my parents for it because they might not have been real crazy about what I was doing with it. So I learned to do a lot of that stuff myself, and he knew I could do some minor things, so he gave me a job.
Yeah.
And about a year after I took that job, the company bought Grover Jackson's company, Jackson Charvel. This is 85 was when I left Delbert, middle of 85, and went to work for IMC. They bought the Jackson Charvel company because the big hair metal stuff was huge.
I mean, it was blowing up, and
It was huge.
Everyone needed to have a locking tremolo, and you needed to have
I hated that crap with a passion. And I particularly hated the Floyd Rose tremolo. So the Jackson factory's in San Dimas, California, and they are moving the Charvel production to Japan.
Okay.
And they moved Donnie Wade, my dear friend, out of Fort Worth to San Dimas to help run the Jackson factory. So I moved into Donnie's position. Now I'm head of the whole guitar department. The Hondo guitars are still coming in. And so they started sending me to Japan, Korea, India, Indonesia, all these countries where they were making these guitars. So here I am traveling all the time again.
Yeah.
And it was a great experience. Yeah, so I started going to work. I went to work for IMC. That was pivot number one.
Yeah. So how many years did you work for them?
About 8 years, until '93, until I moved here.
Yeah.
Now, there was some things through the years. Delbert did a few dates in Germany, I guess in '89 maybe.
Yeah, because I've seen those the footage
Una
of you.
Filter, the German TV show.
Yeah, and you're
right.
and you're
I'm playing a pointy head stock.
Yes,
Oh man, how embarrassing!
It's hilarious because it's
how embarrassing.
Wait, that's Pennebaker.
Yeah, I did have a Telecaster on that show too, but yeah, you know that came up. Delbert had a guitar player at the time who, shall we say, had a little trouble with the law, and he couldn't get a passport.
Yeah,
he couldn't leave.
It happens. It happens.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, yeah.
So he called me, asked if I could help.
Yeah, fill in.
And we're all this time we're best of friends.
Yeah.
And our wives are best of friends, so there was never any bad blood.
Yeah.
So, hey man, can you come to Germany? And I said, well, I got to see if I can get some time off because it was. We just did a couple of gigs maybe, but the travel. So I needed to ask for a week off basically. Yeah. So I went upstairs to the boss, Tommy Moore, and said, hey, I want to ask and Tommy was a tough customer, man. I need to ask for a week off. What for? Well, I've been asked to go to Germany with Delbert to do a TV show. And he's kind of concerned. I said, I'll take a Charvel and play it on German TV. Bingo.
Yeah, you sold him. Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah. You're good now.
So that's why I'm playing the pointy beak.
Exactly. It makes sense. Yeah.
Which really was a nice guitar.
They are great guitars. It's just
not my wheelhouse.
It's not your wheelhouse. Yeah.
So yeah, there's that. And there were a couple other instances like that where Tommy would let me run off and join the circus for a couple days and play his guitar.
And how did you leave IMC for good?
Well, I had been, this is in our blood. This is who we are and what we are, musicians. I was wanting to be a musician again. That never left me. I was out at the Bluebird every night. I'd go to work 8 in the morning, come home at 5:30, have dinner. My poor wife, she's such a trooper. And she'd go with me a lot too. My parents were built-in babysitters. They loved their grandkids, and they just lived a couple miles. So I'd go play. I had gigs all the time in the clubs, even while I was working a day job. And, my friend I mentioned, Gary Nicholson. By this time, Delbert, he moved to Nashville probably in 1980. Delbert left Fort Worth for Nashville in 87, I think. All my friends were migrating to either California, either LA or Nashville.
Yeah.
And I had done all I could do in Fort Worth. A lot of the situations that I would be in out in the clubs in Fort Worth was not healthy, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah.
And if there was a pitfall to fall in, I probably did. So I wanted to get out of Fort Worth, and I wanted to go to Nashville. Well, how do you do that? I have a family.
Yeah, you got to have a gig.
You got to have a job. And Gary called, maybe it was Gary, somebody called me about Brooks and Dunn were looking for a fiddle player, and this is right after their first record had come out.
Yeah.
And I got in my Ford Explorer and drove here. I was at the NAMM show with IMC one year, whatever year that was, early 90s. The band leader called me. Well, boy, everybody's talking about you. Delbert's called us, Gary Nicholson. Man, you're probably the guy. It's just you and one other guy we're looking at. So I'm like, oh yeah, cool.
Yeah.
I got in my truck and drove to Tennessee. I showed up at, it wasn't SRR, it's where they used to make Carlo cases, where Shoney's, right by the Musicians Union office.
Yeah.
I showed up there thinking, well, it's just me and another guy. There must have been 25 fiddle players lined up in the hall.
Because Brooks and Dunn, I mean, that first record,
Boots, Scoot, and Boogie and all that.
They had so many huge hits. So yeah, everyone in town would want that.
So
gig.
here I am, looking at all these other fiddle players, and the road manager came and found me and said, "We've been waiting for you. You're going to be last."
Okay.
Which is not a good. I don't think that's really a good spot to be in. But anyway, so I'll just say this: I never got a job I auditioned for. Never.
I never have either.
Luckily, I have only auditioned maybe 3 times.
Yeah. It's.
So I didn't get that job. That was a long drive back to Texas, and one day I was in my office and I get a call from my old buddy Leroy, who. We probably were 17 when we first met on a podunk little old session of some kind in Fort Worth. He was playing in rock bands in Fort Worth, and I don't even remember much about it. He does. So anyway, and then when I was with Delbert, Leroy was in Austin. He had his own band in Austin. Leroy would open for Delbert shows a lot.
Yeah.
So we got to know each other, good friends. And he called me one day. I knew he was having songs on the radio.
Yeah.
Out of the blue, he called and said, "Hey, man, I'm putting my dream band together, and I want you to be the guitar player. What would it take?" And I gave him a figure, and he said, "Well, I can't do that. But one of these days when I can, I'm going to call you." And I thought, that's really nice. But you know how it is.
Yeah, you just put that out of your mind. It's not going to happen.
So I tried to forget about it and forgot about it. And I don't know, it's probably at least 1.5 years, maybe a couple years later, he called out of the blue and said, "Is that figure still good?" And I said, "Uh-huh." And he said, "Well, I need you to be here." This was in the summer. "I need you to be here by the such and such date," which was like 3 weeks away. And I said, "Okay." And I hung up the phone, and I walked upstairs to Mr. Tommy Moore's office and gave my 2-week notice. No real plan other than
I'm going to Nashville.
I hadn't even called Debbie yet, I don't think.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But she was going to be all for it. I mean, she was all for us getting out of Fort Worth anyway.
Yeah.
By this time, our firstborn Jeremy was a senior in high school.
Yeah.
I was approaching 40 years old by this time. I thought, and Debbie was with me, this is it. This is the last chance, man.
Yeah.
You know, if you're not going to do it now, then you're not going to do it.
Ever.
And I should have done it, well, everything on God's time, but I was late getting here to the party. But I got here.
And then
thanks to Leroy.
Yeah. And so you start working with him, and then also, again, something we haven't really mentioned. I mean, I guess people are kind of getting this, but you're a multi-instrumentalist in that you play pedal steel, you play fiddle, you play guitar, and
but nobody knew that really. Yeah. Here, no one knew that.
But you kind of start getting into.
I don't play any of those other instruments.
Yeah, but you start getting on demo sessions, and you start getting work when you're off the road, and you start right. Kind of getting part of the scene, and Gary, and these other cats, and so
we all get by with a little help from our friends. Yeah. And back then, the pool was large.
Yeah.
There were all the record labels, music. If I wasn't on the road, I was on Music Row doing something, a publishing demo, or a artist showcase, or rehearsing for this or that. There was always work, and that's gone.
Yeah, and that was one of the golden things about the 90s is there was so much work that it was just, I mean, it just seemed like if you were halfway decent, you could make some money. You could at least make a living, playing music here.
Right, and it took 18 months to get the family up here because we couldn't get our house sold in Texas.
Yeah.
So I commuted for a little over 18 months, and I lived at Delbert and Wendy's house in Green Hills. That's where I stayed. Donnie Fritz would stay there when he came up from Muscle Shoals, so it's kind of like me and Donnie bunking at Delbert and Wendy's, and that went on, like I say, for 18 months. Finally, we leased our house because it wouldn't sell, and the family came up here, and we moved into a duplex thing that Wendy owned. She gave us to us for what we could afford, which was not very much, you know, on a sideman's wage. So again, a little help from our friends.
Yeah.
And you know what? The first day I got here, I was in a master session with Leroy on playing acoustic guitar, lost as a goose. He was in the studio. He said, "Man, get that acoustic and get in that booth over there."
Yeah.
The first day I'm here, I'm on a master session.
Yeah.
The only other master session I'd ever been on before that was in 1977. I drove to Houston in my little Volkswagen Beetle and played, I was the string section all myself on a Freddie Fender record. Huey Moe was there, and if you don't know about Huey Moe, you need to know.
Yeah.
There's a lot you don't want to know, but so my first day here, I'm in the master session, and I thought, "Thank you, Lord."
Yeah. Get a good payday.
Yeah. Thank goodness I was already in the union.
Yeah. So of course, you know, Leroy, you know, had a nice run in the 90s and was on all the television shows and you know of the day, and so you were getting some TV money, and
and what a band we had.
Yeah, I mean Steve Mackey and
Reese initially.
Lynn Williams, and then Kevin McKendry.
Yeah,
that was a killer band. I remember Leroy did a Hot Licks video for Arlen Roth, and I remember buying that, and I remember all of y'all were in it.
Yeah.
And I think that was the first time I had probably seen you in some clip playing with Delbert or something like that. But that was the first time I remembered, you know, seeing you, you know, play. And I was like, this guy, you know, you had like a super reverb and a Strat, and I was like,
and
it was
my
like,
old Telecaster.
Yeah, and you were kind of playing in kind of that Jimmy Vaughn kind of, you know, a little bit of that kind of vibe, and it's probably just because it's similar influences.
Yeah.
You know. But
everybody, all the guitar players back in the day wanted to emulate Jimmy and the Thunderbirds. Not so much Stevie yet, but I remember the first time I saw Stevie, the first time I met him was at Kane's Ballroom in Tulsa, and this was pre-Double Trouble. This is the Triple Threat.
Yeah.
With Lou Ann and Johnny Reno and Stevie. They opened for Delbert. I watched him. We have to follow that. I have to follow that.
Yeah.
And I knew Lou Ann from Fort Worth, and I was just, my mouth was on the floor, and I got to meet this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I know Lou Ann, so I just walked right in their dressing room, and there was this local country music show in the 60s in Fort Worth called the Cowboy Weaver Show. And it was the worst. Everyone lip synced, and it was horrible.
Yeah.
And we would all watch it as teenagers and laugh at it.
Yeah, make fun of it.
Well, the Longhorn Ballroom house band did a few Cowboy Weaver Show episodes. So I'm walking in to meet Stevie, and Lou Ann takes one look at me and points at me, and she goes, "I saw you on Cowboy Weaver." And of course, I felt about that big at that time, and Stevie, of course, is going, "Who the flip is Cowboy Weaver?" So that was my introduction to Stevie. But I would get to know him a little bit through the years.
Yeah.
In Austin. Raitt was in Delbert's band when he left to go with Stevie. So we did a lot of shows with Stevie. He would be the opening act.
Yeah.
From the Triple Threat days up to the early Double Trouble days. So I got to know him some. Jimmy, not so much. I remember Delbert would lease the Thunderbirds bus back in the day when they weren't using it. And we did a lot of shows in Austin. Back in those days, the Thunderbirds did their own outdoor festival. I can't remember the name of it. But Jimmy in those days, he was a gunslinger. And I wanted to know him so bad. I looked up to him and his playing so much. And I remember one time, kind of maybe, I could see him over there. Well, I'm going to go introduce myself. And I'd start walking toward him, and back in those days, he'd look at you like, no, man.
Yeah, don't do it.
No, you don't, no. Like he wanted to fight or something. He scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
So I never really got to know him. Now, subsequently, as the years have gone by, we've got to know each other a little bit,
Yeah. The Roy Parnell kind of comes to an end. Obviously, things in Nashville are always changing, and also you had, there's always this changing of the guard, and at the end of the '90s, country music was really kind of, suffering because it wasn't having the success that it had
Right.
earlier, and so then you go from playing with Leroy, you play with Pam Tillis some, and you end up with Big and Rich. Kind of doing that thing, which I'm sure, no offense to Big and Rich, but I'm sure that was more of like a paycheck.
That was a job, just a job. It was not musically redeeming for me in any shape or form, but it was a job, and it lasted about 3 years.
Yeah.
And I wanted something else desperately. And at that time, I had I had neck problems. I had 3 pinched vertebrae in my neck. I needed surgery, and I didn't have any insurance. And, what's a musician going to do?
Yeah.
And backing up to the 90s, and Leroy was a big Fender endorser in the 90s. Initially, he went with Gibson much later. So when I moved to town, one of the first things Leroy did was take me down to the Fender AR office and introduce me to Bruce Boland and Junior and Senior and the guys down there, and I kind of became kind of a Fender endorser by default.
Yeah.
And so I got to know some people in the company, and some of the people that were working for Fender by that time I had met through my years with International Music Company at NAMM shows. Mm-hmm. Lots of people.
So you've got a lot of connections.
I knew a lot of people in that MI business, and so I'm trying to remember exactly the chain of events. Anyway, I'm not happy where I am. I need some attention to my back. And just kind of another one of these out of the blue phone calls. It was my friend Donnie Wade, who's now working for Fender, because Fender bought Jackson Charvel.
Of course they did.
He said, "Hey man," and he had Richie Fleegler on the phone with him.
Yeah.
And I'd known Richie, and "Hey man, we need a new artist relations guy in Nashville. would you be interested? And again, it's like I didn't even have to think about it.
Just said yes.
I'm your guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how that came about, and it was uncomfortable in a way because I knew the Bolins.
Yeah.
And they were out.
Yeah.
And I was junior was out, not senior.
Yeah.
But it was an uncomfortable situation personally. And I couldn't work out of that office that they had been in. So I had the idea of sound check.
Yeah.
That's where you need to have an artist relation office.
Exactly.
It's sound check. That's where all the musicians are
Exactly.
all the time.
And that's where they need stuff, and that's where you can go in and check out acts as they're getting ready to tour.
Right.
That's where guys find out, oh, we're doing this song where I need a electric 12-string or I need a Strat or whatever it is, or an amp. Yeah.
So I got that job.
Yeah.
I got benefits.
Yeah.
So about 6 months after my Fender employee started, I'm in the hospital having neck surgery. And I thought, oh, this is, just my luck. I'd just gotten this nice job.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to be bedridden for a couple of months. I'll probably lose it. But luckily that didn't happen. I'm trying to remember. I guess by that time, did we have laptops?
Yeah, you're getting to laptop.
Yeah, so I was able to do some of it from my bed downstairs.
Yeah.
And I got back into the office as quick as I could, probably too quick.
Mm-hmm.
My recovery was not very much fun, but so I got that taken care of.
Yeah.
Thank God for
Yeah.
health insurance.
You kind of dream of working for Fender, but it's like it's a job, and you have to remind yourself this is not Leo Fender's Fender. This is 2 steps removed from that. This is a corporation,
Right?
And so, you're out there basically as part of the marketing wing to place stuff in people's hands. At that point, I think the thinking seemed to be that it's like, if you're on TV, you're golden, we'll give you some guitars and amps.
Well, if you're as stupid as I am, you don't think about any of that stuff. You just think, oh my God, I'm going to work for Fender.
Yeah.
I've always been a Fender guy. But, the first couple of years with that company, I really enjoyed it. Then the corporate thing started to just eat me alive, basically.
Yeah.
The turnover of people is one thing, and I'm just not a businessman. I can relate to musicians, though.
Yeah.
I think I know what they want.
Yeah.
I think when they're trying to explain what they want, I can make sense of it. And a lot of the Fender artists were already friends of mine.
Yeah. What did you feel like you were able to do, at Fender? Like, what, were you able to have any kind of influence or hand in like products that were made or things that you were, that you were proud of, or artists that you were able to bring to the table? What were,
Well, I don't know that I did that much as far as bringing new artists to the table. When one of the first artists that I brought in, and it was just fell in my lap, was Paramore.
Oh, yeah.
And I wasn't aware of who they were.
Right.
I took a phone call. Again, the phone rang, and I answered it.
And this is band from Franklin, Tennessee.
That's right.
Yeah.
And, to back up to the 90s when Leroy was a Fender artist and I kind of was on his coattails or whatever, they were just, what do you want? Here you go. Here you go.
Yeah.
They must have given me any number of amps, and they gave me a couple of Guilds when they bought Guild. But when I went to work for Fender in the 2000s, 2007 is when it was, that was not the case anymore.
Right.
You had to pay for you got dealer cost or artist cost.
Right.
but you paid for your instruments. And I have, one really good friend of mine, when I got the Fender job, called me up and said, "Hey, I see these new such and such Strats.
Yeah.
I'd like to get one." Okay, it costs, your price is this.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't pay for guitars.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with that mentality with some of
Yeah.
your friends.
Yes.
And like, well,
There's an entitlement.
it doesn't
Yeah.
work that way anymore.
Right.
So that was kind of an eye-opener a little bit.
Because budgets change and attitudes change.
CEOs
corporate.
change.
Yes,
Everything's
and
changed.
the corporate culture changes, and you have a CEO that's like, let's get some guitars out there, let's get them on TV,
Yeah.
and let's get them out there. And then there's the guy looking at the bottom line that's looking, and he's like, no, we can't afford. We'll
Doesn't
do
know
our
a truss
yeah.
rod from a tuning key.
Right, and he's just looking at numbers, and he's like, well, we need to get artist price out of everyone. We're not going to give anyone unless they're doing an ad for us or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. For example, it can be very frustrating. For example, I'm not going to name any names, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
There is one friend, guitar player, who Fender actually came to me. He said, "Can you get us that guy?" And I said, "Well, I can call him.
Yeah.
We know each other pretty good. We're not close friends, but yeah." So I called him, and he said, "Yeah, I'd like one of those custom shop Strats."
Yeah.
He goes, "But I got this neck that I really love." And I said, "No problem. They can make anything."
Mm-hmm.
And so I talked to the powers that be at the custom shop, and it's like, "Well, yeah, we just need that neck. If you just send us that neck." So he brought me the neck. The neck was off of a Squire. You might know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the custom shop was, "We're not copying a Squire neck."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Excuse me? It's a Fender product.
Yeah.
It's a piece of wood with frets in it." Egos,
Yeah.
corporate,
Yeah. So your time, I could, because I interacted with you during this time period when you were, artist relations, and I could, I could tell that that you were kind of coming to the end. You could tell that you were not a happy camper. So it was no surprise, when you got out of that.
Yeah.
So
I got a little reprieve. I guess 2009, I had an opportunity to do not a huge tour, but it was a huge tour, but it didn't last very long with Fogerty, with John.
Yeah.
And they were kind enough to give me a leave of absence to do that.
Yeah.
For about 3 months. And that put me back on the road.
Mm-hmm.
First class.
Yep.
All the way, everything. And that was kind of what told me that this is who I am. I have no business doing that. I'm just not cut out for the corporate anything.
Yeah. So, you tour with Fogerty, and of course that was the Blue Ranger.
Return of the Blue Ridge Rangers.
Okay. Yeah. And you were playing pedal steel and different things with
no
with
guitar
that.
for me. Yeah, just pedal steel and
playing those
mandolin. I think on a couple songs.
And playing those songs and CCR tunes and things like that.
Yeah,
so.
I got that job thanks to my friend Jason Mowry, who was fiddle player on that gig.
Yeah. So then, hopefully I'm not jumping too far. You kind of start working with Delbert kind of some off and on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's before the Fender thing, actually. That was after Pam. after Pam Tillis. Delbert did a song called Lone Star Blues.
Right. That got a lot of airplay.
That was a single,
Yeah.
so to speak. Yes. And I played fiddle and steel on the record on that song, maybe a couple other songs on that record. And suddenly it's a single, and Pam had decided we would go to Branson occasionally and play her father's, Mel had a theater in Branson. And I got to know Mel a little bit, and actually enjoyed going up there because Mel was around, and it was fun, and we weren't staying.
Yeah.
But Pam decided that she was going to go to, Mel wanted to go back on the road, and he needed someone to fill in at his theater. So Pam was going to go spend about 3/4 of the year sitting down in Branson at Mel's theater, and I was not into that. So I left, and once again, I left without any plan, without any other job. I just said, I can't do it.
Yeah.
And the phone rang. That song's going to be a single, and we got an extra bunk on the bus. Why don't you come, you know. It was temporary.
Yeah.
It was understood. It was temporary. And as long as you're coming, bring your guitar, and you can just strum along. Yeah. Todd Sharp was the guitar player in the band at that time, and it ended up lasting couple, maybe 3 years.
Yeah.
And we stopped playing that song after not that long, you know, after a year or so, and I'm still there.
Yeah.
And Rob McNally came on the band, and I'm just kind of playing rhythm guitar. And one day Delbert came to me, and came to me on the bus and said, you know, we don't play that song anymore and haven't for a long time. And I knew.
Yeah.
And he said, we just really don't have the budget anymore.
Yeah.
For an extra guy. And I was like, hey man, I'm surprised it took you this long.
Yeah.
So.
But then you end up playing with him, you know, again after that. By the time, you know, Bob Britt's in the band.
Right, because Bob's cancer diagnosis.
Right. And then you fill in for him, and then even when Bob Britt came back from, and again, we did a lounge episode with Bob, and he went in depth about that. But when he came back, you got to stay in the band, and I you know, was lucky enough to see a couple of shows with both you and Bob in the band together, like at the factory down in Franklin, Music City Roots, and some other things like that. And it was a great, you know, y'all were a great 1-2 punch.
Well, it says a lot about Delbert and the kind of guy he is. I came on to fill Bob's shoes while he was having his cancer treatment, and Delbert and I are such old friends. There's so much history that he just said, hey, when Bob comes back, why don't you just stay?
Yeah.
I'm not sure how Bob really felt about that.
Yeah.
You know, if I put myself in Bob's shoes, I'm sure he had to think, well, why can't it just be like it was before I left?
Yeah, be the only guitar player.
Right. I get it. It says a lot about Bob, too. So there I am. And, yeah, I was there until Delbert decided to retire.
Yeah. Got
that Grammy out of the deal, which...
not too shabby.
You know, the record, by the time I was back in the band, I think this is... I think I'm talking about the right record. It was already pretty much recorded. It was done. And once again, Delbert, he wanted me on it. Mm-hmm. And I went in, I think I overdubbed on 3 songs. They only used 1. And it's not even 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
People ask me how I got that Grammy, and I'm kind of embarrassed, honestly, about it. I was in the right place at the right time,
yeah,
with the right people for less than 3 minutes.
All right.
So
Yeah. And put it on your speaker in your music
you
room.
just never know.
Yeah. Grammy. That's killer. So, what a long history. I mean, you've played some of the earliest, shows with Delbert, and then you played probably his final show that he did, as far as, so far.
Yeah. So far.
And you've done probably most of the cruises and such through the years too.
Missed a lot of them when I was with Fender, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So then, get us up to today with AJ Croce. I mean, how did that happen?
Well, once again, kind of like everything that's ever happened for me.
Yeah. Serendipity.
The phone rang.
Yeah.
Actually, it was a text message. Well, I'm going to back up again. I'm going to back up to probably 96. Leroy's filming Austin City Limits. And back in those days, it was on the campus of UT.
Mm-hmm.
And they filmed 2 bands a day.
Yep.
And we were the second band. The first band, or the first artist, was AJ Croce. And I was a senior in high school when the plane crash occurred and
Killed
Jim
his
was
dad.
killed.
Yeah.
I was a big fan. I had his records. I saw him on Midnight Special and all those TV shows. I was more interested in that guitar player he had with him
Yeah.
than him and his songs, Mario Muleisen. And so anyway, here's his son. And I watched the show, I watched their set, and it was fantastic. So I walked up and stuck out my hand and said, "Hey, man, I really like what you're doing. You're great. My name's James, yada, yada, yada." That was it. So fast forward, how many years is that? From 96 to, this will be my 5th year now with AJ. It was coming right out of COVID. I was driving for Lyft.
Yeah.
We all, in Delbert's band, we got that Grammy Award January of that year. 2 months later,
Everything shuts down.
everything's over.
Yeah.
And when we were finally able to start to come back, Delbert basically decided that he'd had enough.
He was done.
So what am I going to do? I got to do something.
Yeah.
All the government subsidies quit.
Yeah.
So I was driving for Lyft. And I was sitting right here, looking at that computer screen, probably checking my email or something, and I get a text message. "Hey man, this is AJ Croce. I've just been over at Gary Nicholson's house writing, and I mentioned that I'm looking for a guitar player, and he gave me your name. If you're interested, give me a call or text me back. If you're not, sorry to disturb you."
Wow. Yeah. And again, this is a guy who just got a Grammy, and he's driving Lyft, and he gets a text. Here's a gig.
We wanted a life in show business.
Yes.
And sometimes that's how it works. So here I am.
Yeah.
And AJ is the most wonderful artist in his own right. Besides being the son of his father.
Yeah.
Just a great person, a dear friend. Yeah, he's my employer, but we're friends, and it's just, I don't know.
And you're still playing music.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm going to be 70 years old.
Yeah.
I'm getting arthritis and all that stuff that everybody else gets when you've been around this long, but as long as I can keep doing it, I'll keep doing it.
It's show and tell time.
Okay.
So we're gonna hit some highlights of your collection, and wanted to start with this amazing 350.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it?
This is a 59. Is that what you said?
59.
Whoa, look at the top on that. That is gorgeous, and how clean it is.
Yeah.
The gold.
The weather checking is so slight, you kind of have to look to see it. It's so clean, I don't ever play it. I'm afraid to touch it. The tuning buttons were crumbled and falling apart when I got it, so
Right.
the buttons have been replaced, but everything else is untouched. And this guitar was given to me
Wow.
by a friend in Fort Worth. His name was Caswell Edwards. His family, the Edwards Ranch, is very famous in
Yes.
Texas history, Fort Worth history. Kaz was a friend and a fan.
Yeah.
I loved him to death. There's another friend of mine from Fort Worth, Willie Smith, who puts a post on Facebook and has for years, every day, guitar picture of the day.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, you've seen it. So this is several years ago, before COVID, I guess. He put a picture, the classic picture we've all seen of Chuck Berry, the one with the P90s.
Yes.
Chuck had a later one with humbuckers, just
Yep.
like this, but the first one had the staple P90s in it. So he posts that picture, and I made a one-line comment. I said, "That is a bucket list guitar."
Yeah.
Period. And I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks later, he didn't call me. He texted me. I got a text from Cass, and he said, "Are you going to be home Tuesday to receive a FedEx package?" And I called him,
Yeah.
and I said, "Hey, Cass, yeah, I'm going to be home Tuesday. What are you up to?"
Yeah.
Because Kaz was a bit of a character too. And he says, "Oh, not a thing. Just wanted to make sure you're going to be home because you are going to get a package." So that next Tuesday, I don't know what day this was, but Tuesday came. Doorbell rang. I could tell by the box that it was a guitar with all of my work in the shipping guitar business in the MI industry. And I opened the top of the box, and I'm pulling bubble wrap out, and I saw the tip of a brown Lifton case staring at me in the face. And my first thought was, it's a burst. Could it be a burst?
Yeah.
You know, WTF.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
And so I pulled that brown case out of it, and this thing is sitting, laying in the case.
Wow.
And I just was kind of
Yeah. Dumbstruck.
breathless, dumbstruck. So another call to Cass.
Yeah.
What is this? Well, I thought what you said on Facebook about the bucket list guitar. I found you one.
Damn.
And that's it.
Well, what an amazing example.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. I mean, could you find a cleaner one than that?
So not worthy of something like this, and it stays in the case in the closet, pretty much.
Well, that's gorgeous. All right. So another, kind of Texas icon is Stephen Bruton, and I know you got this from him. Why don't you tell the cats a little bit about Bruton and then the significance of this guitar?
Right. Well, Stephen, I've mentioned Record Town. So Stephen, I don't know, mid-70s sometime, but I think it was 69 or 70, Stephen met Christofferson, I believe the story goes, at a private party in Fort Worth. Jim Meeker, a prominent Fort Worth resident, was involved. He knew Chris, and he is throwing this party, so he invites Chris. There's a little guitar pull around the campfire or whatever, and that's that. They met, played some guitar, And subsequently, maybe a year or so later, Stephen graduates TCU, and rather than go out and look for a job, he decides he wants to spend a year in Woodstock, pursue music. So he's in Woodstock and broke, you know. I think he said he had like $50 in his pocket, and he saw an ad in the paper that Christofferson was playing someplace in New York.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the place, but Greenwich Village or somewhere. And so he figured, well, I'll just get in my car and I'll take this $50 and I'll go to New York and
see what happens.
See what happens. And so he gets there, and Chris had just finished playing. He's like, Stephen's pulling up, and Chris is like walking out of the club. And Stephen stopped him and said, hey, you know, remember me?
Yeah.
You know, from Fort Worth. I just came to see you. You're done? He goes, yeah, I'm done. But I need a guitar player. I'm looking for a guitar player. And he pulls out a business card of his manager and says, here, this is my manager, call him tomorrow. And that's how Stephen got the Christofferson gig. I believe I'm telling this story correctly.
Yeah.
It's something fantastic like that. And that was 70, 71. So Stephen subsequently was not in Fort Worth much after that.
Yeah.
Stephen lived in Los Angeles. And so I didn't really meet Stephen until later in the 70s after he had left Chris. He left Chris to go work with Delbert and Glenn. I mentioned them earlier.
Yep.
Delbert and Glenn Clark. And so Stephen's back in Fort Worth playing the Beef and Boogie Club. And, of course, I'm kind of scratching my head. Why would you do something like that? Anyway, so I got to know him playing around Fort Worth. And then he went back with Chris, and time went on. He moved to Austin, starts doing a lot of production work, starts doing his own records. You know, he spent, I think, over 20 years with Chris, all total. Worked with Bonnie, worked with Bob Dylan briefly, Christine McVie, Norton Buffalo, Jeff Maldar, all kinds of people.
Yeah, T-Bone Burnett.
T-Bone,
Yeah.
oh yeah, well they went to school together in Fort Worth. So, and this guitar, Stephen, this is a 74 D28. Stephen ordered this along with, my friend Donnie Wade can correct me and probably will. I think he ordered this along with a D18 from a place called BMG Guitars in Dallas, where Donnie worked as a repair person. The reason, and it was a special order, both of them, because in those days, you had to special order
A shade top.
the shade top.
Wasn't called Sunburst, called shade top.
Correct.
Yep.
So, and I remember Stephen came over to my house to show it to me, to show both of them to me. I don't know, some months after he'd gotten them. And I don't know what became of the D18, but when Stephen was in Austin from the middle 80s, he would hire me a lot to play on. I played on his first two solo records, and he produced a Marcia Ball record I played on and several other things, and I'd go down there to do gigs with him, like the road to Austin. And every time I walked into his house, he had an incredible collection.
Yeah.
He had pre-war Martins, and he had, at one time he had 5 Dumble amps.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, count them, 5. But this guitar was always in his living room on a stand. I know that it was special to him, and when he died, I purchased it from the estate, because he left us without a will. And over the years, he had the braces scalloped. He
Changed
got
the
rid of the
tuners.
Grovers and put
Yeah.
Waverleys on it. I'm forgetting probably a couple other things, but this guitar is sentimental to me, not just because of Stephen.
Yeah.
You can see it almost had the the head sheared off of it. It's got all these repairs, because this guitar went all over the world with
Yeah.
Chris before there were really road cases, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And the gentleman that did at least some of the repair work when Stephen was living in Fort Worth was a man named Earl Prince, Mr. Prince. And Mr. Prince was a repairman and a builder in Fort Worth. When I was a little boy, my mother would drive me out to Mr. Prince's house because he would rehair my bows and fix my violin. And he also worked on Bob Wills's fiddles. And anyway, Mr. Prince was a big part of my growing up in Fort Worth, and Stephen's. He built Stephen a guitar that Donnie's got. And anyway, so I haven't done anything to it but change the pickup and have David Johnson put a through saddle in it instead of the pocket saddle.
Right. Yeah.
But the bridge has been replaced. The neck's been reset, I don't know, probably a couple times. I had a compression refret done on it. David did, because there's no truss rod in it. And it's, it's a 70s Martin, but it maybe sounds more like maybe a 60s or 50s Martin.
Yeah, it sounds better than a 70s Martin.
Yeah.
What pickup is on there?
I have the Baggs Hi-Fi
Okay.
pickup. I've got that Hi-Fi pickup in all of my acoustics with pickups.
Yeah.
I've been through so many, like a lot of us, acoustic pickups.
They're terrible.
And the Hi-Fi it seems to be the one I like the most right now.
So
It's been in there
is
for
it part of the saddle, or is it the sensor underneath there, or what kind of pickup?
It's attached to the bridge plate underneath. Sticks on there. Yeah. Very similar to the K&Ks.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's installed just like the K&K.
Gotcha.
With a jig, you pull it up.
Yeah.
And I do them myself. I do if it's anything major, I won't touch it. But
yeah.
A lot of fret work and little stuff like that, I do myself.
All right. So I know of course you play a lot of different electric guitars, but you like Telecasters, and so you're kind of a Tele guy. And I know you had a 52, and then this is kind of a replacement. Tell us, let her go. Tell us about the 52 and about this guitar.
Well, in 1975, there was a place west of Fort Worth called Tennyson Brothers Violin Shop. It was in Azle, Texas, suburb of Fort Worth. And when I was able to drive and old enough to take care of my own affairs, I would take my bows to be rehaired there, or my violin to be repaired. And I was by this time I'm playing some guitar. I had a really nice Stratocaster at the time. There was a pawn shop in Garland, Texas called Pete's Pawn and Music. I probably had 3 410 Basemans at different times that I got at that pawn shop for no more than $75.
Yep.
I had a 63. I had a couple of 50s. This is back when you went through a guitar every 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
When you went back to Pete's Pawn and Music, you'd see something else
that you liked better,
that you'd want to trade, that you liked better. And a 50 Strat, $150 all day long.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I walk into Tennyson to leave a bow to be rehaired or something, and there's a 52 Telecaster hanging on the wall, and you could have told me that was Roy's guitar,
Roy
and
Buchanan.
I would have believed it, Roy Buchanan. So I had to have it. They wanted $450 for it, which was like, whoa, that's not one of those $150 Fenders at Pete's Pawn.
Yeah. Why do you think it was
I don't know.
so much more expensive?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Maybe the Tennyson brothers were a little more
savvy.
And of course, I'm a young hippie kid. I think I was maybe still at North Texas State. I don't remember. I didn't have any money, and so I went back in there for several weeks. I would go back in just to see if it was still there.
Yeah.
And I had a 63 Stratocaster that I had gotten at Pete's. And my violin teacher, Mrs. McDaniel, Alice McDaniel that I mentioned, at this time I was trying to rehair my own bows. I was trying to learn some violin repair, that kind of stuff. I've always been one of those guys that when I get something new, I take it apart to see how it works, kind of thing. And sometimes when you do that, you got to learn how to fix it when you put it back together. So she had seen an ad in the classifieds of a family that had a box of violins they were getting rid of. And I went with her to these people's houses, and there was a box that their father had brought back from Europe in World War II. And there were a couple of really nice violins in there. And anyway, they gave them. They were free. So I learned a little bit about violin repair there were a lot of pieces of violins too.
Yeah.
And I put a couple of them back together. And anyway, there was one really nice violin in there. I shudder to think what it might have really been, because I didn't know much in those days. I was just a kid. So I finally went back into Tennyson Brothers with that 63 Stratocaster. First I went with just the Strat. I said, would you trade?
Yeah.
No. Nope, you're going to have to come up with something more than that. So I went back in there the second time with one of those violins and the Stratocaster. And they took the violin, the two brothers, Tennyson Brothers, and they took the violin and went back in the back room. And I don't know, it felt like an eternity to me, but probably 5 minutes later they came back out and said, yeah, we'll trade for the Strat and that violin.
Yeah.
So I walked out of there with this 52 Telecaster, and I played it from 1975 up until I sold it in 2009, I think. So fast forward to the 90s, and I'm on the road with Leroy and Vince Canetto. I don't remember how we met. I honestly don't. He'll have to tell me. But we became fast friends, all the Leroy band, and he would come out on the bus with us, and he always said, James, you're a fool for carrying that 52, because we had no guitar tech. We had just one. We were in a bus. We had one crew guy. But I watched after it closely. But he was like, you're crazy. You don't even have insurance. And so Leroy got booked on the Dallas Guitar Show in '96. And Vince, of course, came. And he came to me and he said, hey, come with me to this booth. They're friends of mine. They're vintage dealers. I don't remember who they were. Something I want you to see. They've got something you need to stop bringing that 52 out. You need to leave it at home. I think they've got something I think you'd be interested in, and that you could probably do some kind of deal. So we walk over there, and he lifts up the drapes of the table and pulls out a tweed case, which I later learned that he had asked them if he could use that tweed case for a few minutes. So here comes this tweed case out from under the table. I open it up, and this guitar is laying in it. And I thought, man, what year is that? 52, 53?
Yeah.
I could tell by the slot head screws. And I said, can I play it? He goes, yeah. Matter of fact, you can have it. And I was another one of these, like, what? Well, he made this. Vince made this and gave it to me. I mean, he made the body. It's got the router hump. It's got the nail holes under the pick guard and everything.
Yeah.
And it became my number one guitar from that day. It's actually a better guitar than my 52. And I've had any number of pickups in it early on when I got it, trying to match that 52.
Yeah. That
went like this when you click it into the bridge position. And this is an Alan Hamill pickup that he made for me after discussing the Clank, the Roy Buchanan thing.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction to Ron Ellis, too, because Ron was helping him at the time. But I remember the first thing, when I came home to Nashville with this, after that guitar show trip, I took it to show it off to Joe Glazer, but didn't say anything. I just walked in there, and it fooled Joe.
Yeah.
Now, it was relicked. A lot of this fretware, we can tell now that's not from me playing it, but it wasn't nearly as beat up as it is now because I played it for 30 years.
Yeah.
So
That's
the
killer.
Kinetocaster.
Yeah. So this is another telly, but I'm guessing it's a Nacho because it doesn't have a logo on there.
Yes, this is my Nachocaster that I've had, I guess, a little over 3 years.
Okay.
It's not going to go on the road with me this next trip because it needs frets. I've played the frets off of it pretty much.
Wow.
It weighs 6 pounds, 11 ounces, I think. Wonderful soft V neck that I really love. And I have put taller knobs on it, with which I do on all my Telecasters. And I've changed the bridge pickup to a Ron Ellis broadcaster pickup.
Yeah.
But I first became aware of Nacho through Bill Hullett.
Mm-hmm.
I used to attend church, the same church that Bill goes to. And I've been friends with Bill since the 90s, from the Nashville Network days. Bill was the house guitar player on Music City Tonight, maybe, I think, if I may have that right. And he had that Nocaster.
Yeah, a real Nocaster.
A real Nocaster. And I had my real 52.
Yeah.
So that's how we first, I remember the first time Leroy did one of those shows that Bill was on, we're both like looking at each other's guitars.
Yeah, because you both got real black guards.
Right.
Yeah.
But Bill's was a Nocaster. And for whatever reason, Bill had to get rid of sell his Nocaster. And some years went by.
Yeah.
There's a whole story Bill could tell you about the sale of that guitar. But anyway, the years went by, and he got contacted by Nacho.
Yeah.
Nacho Banos, because Nacho wound up finding, and Bill had been looking for his Nocaster.
Yeah.
Couldn't find it. Well, Nacho called and said, I own your guitar. I bought it. I can't remember where he bought it. Dave's or somewhere, I don't know. And so that began a relationship with Bill and Nacho. And now we go back to the Dallas Guitar Show thing again. I believe I'm correct in saying that Nacho maybe paid for Bill's way. I don't know. I don't remember. To go to Dallas and meet him. It was one of these things like, there's something you need to see.
Yeah.
And Nacho had reproduced Bill's Nocaster. I mean, right down to the... Bill used to put his hand right here, and the finish was all gnarly. And, I mean, every detail about it.
Yeah.
And I've still got the pictures of both the guitars side by side that Bill brought to church one Sunday and said, can you tell which which is which?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell. And so that was my introduction to this guy, Nacho.
Yeah.
And this, correct me if I'm wrong, this is before, maybe well before, Nacho started kind of producing these things.
Yes. Yes.
That was, Bill's guitar is pretty much a one-off.
Yeah.
And so, of course, I'm jealous of Bill's Nacho guitar. I was jealous of his Nocaster, and I'm jealous of his Nacho Nocaster.
Yeah.
And just thought, well, someday, maybe I'll be in a position to afford one because they're expensive. And as fate would have it, we had a really good run of tour dates with AJ that year, and I had a little extra money I could spend and get a tax deduction at the same time. And, well, wait a minute. Let me back up a little bit. I contacted Nacho about ordering one.
Okay.
Maybe a couple of years before I got this. And I gave him some specs, which is just basically a 52 Telecaster, and I want this aging or whatever, and I want a 7.25 fingerboard radius. And he messaged me back and says, we don't do 7.25.
Yeah.
We do 9.5. To me, that's not a Telecaster.
It's not. It's not the same thing.
It's. Yeah. I'm one of those guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I grew up playing that 52.
Yeah.
And this is a 7.25. So that was the end of that. And then, like I said, I don't know, a year or two later, I got a message from Nacho. I've made a guitar for this gentleman who can't pay for it. And it has a 7.25 radius. Are you interested?
Mm-hmm.
And the wheels started turning. Well, how can I do this? What can I sell? I don't think I sold anything. Anyway, I worked it out. I figured it out. And so here it is. It's got a 7.25 radius. And I don't know if I should be talking about that or not.
Yeah. He's a big boy.
Yeah. I know Jeff Hanna has a Strat with a 7.25 too.
Yeah.
But
so this is kind of.
I got this guitar. As much as I love Vince's guitar, I mean, it's kind of like, what's your favorite kid? Which one of your kids is your favorite?
Yeah. Well, and sometimes you play guitar for 30 years, and you're kind of like, okay, I want to play a different one or something.
Well, when
like
I ordered this, this is kind of my original 52 now.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted to leave this home maybe.
Yeah.
Because if anything ever happened to this,
because that's
I don't know what I would do.
Yeah, I mean, that's a one-off.
And now I feel the same way about this, but I feel like I could get another one. I could get another Nacho Caster.
Yeah. Vince is probably not going to make it. He doesn't really do that.
I don't
often.
think so. I think he's moved on.
Yeah. So.
And I get it.
Yeah.
I really get it. Like, I used to subscribe to all the guitar magazines and all that stuff, and my Fender employment kind of burned me out on all that. I don't care anymore. I take Fretboard Journal, that's it.
Yeah.
So I get it that Vince has kind of been there, done that.
You kind of move on.
Yeah.
All right, we got one other here. Look at the fingerboard on that.
Isn't that beautiful?
That is gorgeous.
Some people know what they're looking at. The people that don't know what they're looking at, I've had people go, well, is that from you playing it?
Yeah.
Is that where?
No.
No. They don't know. They don't know they're looking at Brazilian rosewood.
Yeah. Yeah, real Brazilian rosewood has lots of good color to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This was my uncle's guitar, and I have several wonderful guitars that just came my way as gifts.
Yeah.
And when my uncle passed, my aunt called and said, I think you should have Smokey's guitar. My uncle was Charles Doyle. Charles Smokey Doyle.
I mean, what
Where
a great
did Smokey
nickname.
come from?
Yeah.
I honestly don't know for sure, but I figure he's a smoker. Everyone was.
Yeah.
He was another World War II veteran. I mean, my father smoked when I was little. So this guitar is Smokey. And my Aunt Nancy called and said, I think you should have Smokey's guitar. When I was a little boy, I can remember going over to their house and asking if I could, Uncle Smokey, can I see your guitar?
Yeah.
And it was under the bed in his bedroom. And he'd pull the case out from under the bed. He'd open the case, and I'd look at it like it was the most it was the most fascinating thing I'd ever seen. But he wouldn't let me play it, or even take it out of the case. And all I remember is I think he had a buddy, probably a veteran buddy, that played saxophone. And they would get together, and he'd play the guitar, and his buddy would play saxophone.
Yeah.
Entertain themselves. And again, when I got it, the tuner buttons were pretty much disintegrated. I went to took it over to Joe's, and of course the first thing Joe commented about was that fingerboard, just like you.
Yeah.
And it had the crumpling keys, and I said, Joe, I need to buy a set of repro tuners to put on there.
Yeah.
Joe said, no, you don't.
Yeah.
I won't sell them to you. And
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, well, you what? And he said, you can replace those buttons.
Exactly.
Let me show you.
Yeah.
And I might get in trouble for saying that, but Joe showed me. Joe did the first one,
Yeah.
and then sent me home to do the rest of them.
Yeah.
I love Joe.
He's great. And what year was this again?
This is a 56, which is the
56.
year of my birth, which
Yeah.
makes it. And I also said, Joe, what? I bet it'd sound better if I had you fill that slot and get rid of all this adjustable crap.
Yeah.
And Joe said, ain't gonna do it.
Yeah.
So thanks again, Joe.
Yeah.
And it's been refretted, but other than that, it's never had a neck set or anything. And it obviously hadn't been played that much.
Yeah.
I've played it on some records, but no pickup. It never leaves the house. It won't go.
Yeah.
It won't be going on the road.
No. So what do you take out on the road with AJ?
I take the Nacho Caster. You want to put that back over there? I take the Nacho Caster, however, it won't go with me in a couple of weeks because it's going to go get new frets. I played the frets off of it. So I'll take Vince's guitar, and normally I take the Nacho Caster, I take that black B-Bender Telly, and I take this ES330. This is a 2012 Memphis-made 59 reproduction that I found at Carter's, the old Carter's.
Yeah.
In there one day, I don't even remember why I was in there, and it just caught my eye, and I picked it up and played it. These pickups are Ron Ellis Sonics,
Nice.
which are just amazing. The P90s, the original P90s were okay. I had Lawler P90s in it for a while. They're too overwound for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I called Ron to talk P90s.
Yeah.
And Ron said, let me tell you about, and of course I'm a Julian Lodge fan.
Yeah.
And he said, well, let me tell you about a little bit about these Ellisonics. And the more he told me about them, and when he said I make them in a dog ear P90, I said, sold.
Sold. Yeah.
And I put them in, and they ain't going out.
Yeah.
So that's what I take 2 Telecasters. I take this guitar, and I have in those Carlton cases back there, I have a 98 D18V
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's a 2012 D28V that I found at Carter's, just because I'm not taking Steven's guitar on the road, though I have a couple times.
Yeah.
So, and I play the D18 pretty much exclusively. The D28's just in case I break a string or something.
Yeah. And then what kind of amp do you use?
For the last couple of years, I've been using, that Tweed amp with no badge on it. It's a made by Retro King.
Okay.
It's not much information on them. I can't think of the guy's name. They're in New York State somewhere. I don't
Okay.
think he makes them anymore. It's basically a Tremolux.
Yeah, so big box.
G9,
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
big box Tremolux.
Yeah.
Single 12. Looks like you could have 4 10s in it, but it's just a single 12. It's got the most glorious tremolo of any amp I've ever heard. And I went to Carter's because I had heard that Steve Gibson's, I was looking for a Tremolux. That
Yeah.
Steve's Tremolux was for sale down there. So I went to look at it, and I saw it, and plugged into it. The tweed had been painted black, but it was a nice amp, but they wanted many thousands of dollars for it. And I knew that I wasn't going to walk out with it, but I just wanted to go play through one.
Yeah.
And the gentleman that waited on me said, well, you know, we've got this Retro King Tremolux over here for $1,200. And I plugged into it, and
Yeah.
it sounded better than the original one. So
Wow.
that's been my favorite amp since I bought it.
Yeah. What kind of speakers in it?
It has a Jupiter
Yeah.
Alnico speaker in it.
Nice.
I love Jupiter speakers.
Yeah.
And I still love the Alessandro Eminence speakers too.
Yep.
But the Jupiters have kind of replaced those as my favorites, though I still have those in lots of stuff.
Yeah.
So I take the Tremolux and I take this reissue Fender Tweed Deluxe, which I got it actually used to be Warner Hodges' amp.
Okay.
When I went to work for Fender in 2007, it was in the shop for like the third time, and Warner couldn't fix it. They couldn't keep it fixed. And Warner's pretty brutal on amps and guitars. You know, he swings the guitar around his head. And so the policy in those days was 3 strikes and you're out.
Mm.
So if we can't fix it after the third time, we replace it.
Yeah.
And so it was at the Fessler's Lane repair shop, and Warner had gotten a replacement, and it was just sitting there. And you know Jim DeCola?
Yeah.
He's with Gibson
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
He changed the output transformer to I think they all come with Mercury's, but he replaced the output transformer, and it has worked ever since. And I was able to get a swinging deal on it as an employee.
Yeah.
And because it was in what they call the bone pile.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. It's a fabulous amp. So I take it and the Tremolux. We play theaters and PACs. Depending on the size of the room, I might use that Deluxe.
Yeah.
It's plenty.
Yeah. Yeah, for a lot of rooms.
Yeah.
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 What do you use effects-wise?
Well, I have my board over there in a case. It's pretty much identical to this little board, but I use a Tone Dexter acoustic guitar preamp. So take about 3 of these off of here. This is a Leslie simulator. That's a chorus. So they don't go. There's no need for those with AJ. So I take a delay, a compressor. This is a wonderful clean boost. The Mad Professor Overdrive. The Karma, which is new to me. I had an original
ODR1?
ODR1
Yeah.
that I never could really get with. Did you know Bird Burton?
Yeah.
Bird used to work at Guitar Heaven back in the
Yeah.
90s, and you got to come get this new pedal, man. $30. It's great.
Yeah.
And I had it forever, but never really used it much. And when they got so expensive, I sold it. Maybe that's what helped me get the Nacho Caster.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Selling one of those for $1,000
I
or
sold
whatever.
it for over $1,000.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well over $1,000.
Which is crazy.
And I got 2 of these Karmas, which from watching on YouTube, Tim Pierce,
Yeah.
that's kind of his ODR1 replacement. And, oh yeah.
And we have One Spot Pros underneath there.
Yes, and I do all my own pedal boards myself. So
Yeah. So we got.
Sorry for all the spaghetti under there.
Yeah, you got 2 CS6s under there. That's cool.
Well, I didn't know any other way at the time.
Yeah.
I know you have the expansion, but
Stuff.
it's always changing. So
Yeah.
I do everything myself because as soon as I get it, like I think I like it, something else comes along.
Yeah.
But this is new to me. It's going to be the maiden voyage on this next run on my other board. This tremolo just came yesterday. I really like it. Normally I've been using the harmonious monk.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, you know, as much as, or as little as I like to use pedals, it looks like I got a bunch of stuff on there.
Well, they're fun to toy around with.
But most of them are just used on one particular song and never turned on again.
Yeah. Just a gag.
Yeah, it just serves a purpose, and but it's fun.
Yeah. Well, James, I really appreciate you letting us come down here and
thank you.
tell your story. And
It's been a pleasure.
thank you.
Thank you.